Hey guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. We have the Frankencaster on the bench today, and we are getting ready to prepare this guitar for delivery to a potential customer who would like to buy it. We're going to go through the it's all finished. I haven't put any real videos about building this guitar up because it's been a project on the side while I'm doing other work. Long story short, it was abandoned in my shop. It was a bunch of parts and a pile of junk, and I turned it into what's going to be a beautifully playing guitar. I got chatting up a potential customer about it, and he's looking for something that is lightweight and in the Stratocaster family. So today's object lesson is going to be, the last thing I really have to do on it is set up the trem, and I already have it set up and I love the way it's playing. But I'm going to do a short tutorial on how to set up the floating bridge for a Fender Stratocaster. It's going to be pretty cool. We're going to have a lot of fun, so come along for the ride. Let's get to work. Remember, if you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe. So here's my little Frankencaster, parts caster, call it whatever you want. Really lightweight body. I sourced a Canadian roasted maple neck for it, aftermarket. It's not a Fender. It doesn't matter. All of my basses are basically parts casters, and I've been gigging and studio working with them for years and years and years. This guitar plays like butter. The neck that I got, I sourced it out. It's just beautiful. The fret ends are perfect. There's no high frets on it. I don't even, usually when I buy a neck, I go, okay, I'm going to have to, level the frets and go through that whole thing. But nope, not with this one. The only thing I really had to do was cut the nut slots and get them down to where I like, which is around 18 thousandths. We did all of the electronics, redid all of the electronics except for the pickups. The pickup, this is actually this pick guard and the pickups are Fender Custom Shop. They are what I believe to be Texas Twisters, or insert name of whatever you like to call that. These are really hot pickups, and this guitar is hot. Again, I put 500K pots in it, volume, tone, a new five-way selector switch. It rocks. The Fender, when I got the guitar, it had an original Fender from, I don't know where they sourced it from, but it was a Fender bridge with a block, but this was all stripped out, and it just was not in the best shape. I sourced a better bridge that's in brand new condition. It is a brand new bridge and saddle assembly with a new block. So what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through how there's a lot of controversy, and I don't know what to do, and there's a million different ways to set up a floating bridge. Leo Fender had it right. He knew what he was doing. And I'm going to show you what the conventional wisdom is. Now, let's assume this guitar came into my shop. And I know this thing is just going to pop out and fall down. Came in, or it's your guitar, and it won't stay in tune when I use the whammy bar. That whammy bar, for lack of a better term, tremolo. What you do first and foremost is you check the neck relief, and you do all that stuff, which is usually where we start. I know all that is set, but we're going to go through the process of that. So you tune to pitch, which I have a tuner on here, and we're going to just tune it and see where it is. Make sure everything is tuned to pitch so that the string tension is at pitch. Always the G string. It's the only one that never stays in tune. So then, what do? We don't need the tuner at this moment. We know that we have the proper, we're tuned to pitch, and that means the string tension is holding against the neck, holding against the bridge and the saddle assembly. We turn it over, and we start with this little mechanism right here. And this is a complete mystery to almost everyone who plays a Strat, but they learn as they go along what's going on in here. There are springs in here, and they pull against the string tension on the other side of the guitar, and the bridge floats in that equilibrium state. So guitar player comes in, says, my guitar doesn't stay in tune when I use the trem. Or restring my guitar and set my tremolo system, or restring my guitar and take it from a hardtail and make it so that I can use the trem system. All of the above. What we do, the conventional wisdom is going to be basically this procedure. We tuned up to pitch. That's the first thing that I do. And now we are going to back off the spring tension, which is going to throw the equilibrium out of whack. But we have to have a place to start. So what do? We get after the spring claw and we back it out. 2 turns at a time. I usually do that 3 times. And all we're doing is releasing the spring tension. And what that should do is the string tension will now start to lift the bridge up. The bridge will start to come away from the body. All right, and it is. And then we're going to start with these little guys, wood blocks, hardwood blocks. They're trem blocks. And we have to find the right one to fit in there between the trem and the body of the guitar. And you have to push it all the way down in there until it bottoms out. And this one is going to take the biggest one. Get it all the way in there until the bridge and saddle assembly have flattened out on the other side. We're almost there, and usually you got to go all the way down in there. Now this particular trem block, well, not trem block, but the trem bridge, the bottom of it has a divot. The good Fender ones are flat and they have just a little tail out. This one is going to give me a little bit of a hard time because what we want to do is achieve that bridge right there wants to be completely level with this, the body. Now we're almost there. This is sometimes a little tricky. Get it in there until it wedges. Okay. Oh yeah, we're nice and level now. Okay. Now what do? Now you're going to set up your neck relief, your saddle height, your intonation, all of that. Which is, and you've seen this a million times before, but we're going to go through the exercise just so you know how to do this. Capo with the first fret, 12 thousandths. That's what I use. Debate it ad nauseum. I don't care. I'm telling you, this is what I use and it never fails me. Capo with the first fret, You finger at the body joint, come down to the 7th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Check your neck relief at the 7th, 8th fret, give or take. You should just be kissing the feeler gauge at 12 thousandths at that fret. Okay? Basic stuff. That's good. Now we're going to tune up to pitch in this state, which is basically a hardtail. We're going to tune it up to pitch, and then we're going to start getting after our string height and intonation. We're going to do the complete setup on the guitar before we go back to that. That's going to be the last thing we do is underneath the guitar. Okay? So, tuner. Remember, we're sitting on that block. It's just resting on there. And because, you know, we banged it all out of whack, everything is going to be a little out of tune, no problem. Let's get it tuned back up to pitch. You're doing a basic regular setup here. And of course, you'll always start at tune to pitch. Try to start flat and tune up to pitch. Don't ever start sharp and tune down to pitch. You want pressure on the tuning machine. And I'm sure the mic is picking up on that. And as you put it back to pitch, you're going to have to retune it. Probably a couple of times until you get it stable at pitch. It's just as if you were putting new strings on. Always the G string. Never fails. It's always the G string. It was the only one that was a quarter of a cent off from everybody else. Now, what we're going to do is check our intonation. Dead on. Good. Yup. Now remember, if you needed to change any of this, you got to come down here and get after here. And I think the D might be a little sharp. Slightly. We got to pull the D up. And we do that here. This is a basic adjustment. Loosen if you're pulling it up. You want to loosen the string tension. Pull your saddle back a little bit. It was sharp, which means it was too close. Tune the D back up. Dead on. And you see how quickly we changed. The intonation was a little sharp on the D string. So you go down to the saddle. That's what these screws are for, to make sure that the distance between this point and this point is perfect. That's what your intonation is. Dead on. Dead on. Couldn't get any better. And by the way, everything else is staying in tune because we have it stable now. Always the G, doesn't want to stay in tune. Rotten kid in class. I got to get a new joke. I always say, rotten kid in class. Dead on. May not stay in tune, but it's dead on in intonation. B. Dead on. Even the mic can hear that on the camera. So we have the intonation set. We have the neck relief set. The last thing that we're going to do is check the string height, which is your action. And then we're going to get back to how to release that spring claw. Am I in the movie? Yep. We're checking just our action. It should be right around 5/64. Dead on. Dead on. Dead on. Oop. The G string is a little tall. Dead on. Dead on. So the G string we want to bring down slightly. And I mean ever so slightly. So we were, instead of 5/64, we were right around almost 6. Why do we not have the right? I know this was the one we used. Huh, are you telling me there's something in there now? That little guy right there. Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at this a little bit closer. Let me see if there is a better sized. That one fits in there beautifully. I've already got that one down. Now remember, all the same rules apply. You want to sight down and make sure that all of your saddles are level to the body of the guitar. Height has to be on this type of saddle assembly where you have 2 screws for each string saddle. They have to be level. Height, okay, yeah, no problem, but you want to make sure that every saddle is exactly level. So let's double check that G string height, because that was one little measurement that we had to make. Dead on. We're at 5/64 all the way across the radius of the board. So every string is at the exact same height. That's setup. Neck relief, intonation, string height. What's the last thing we always check? You got it. And everybody forgets this one. Pickup height. And it's important. And it better not have changed from the other day, which it didn't. Okay, now comes the fun part. We are going to undo. Let's just make sure we're still in tune. Well, G, because we raised it slightly. So, you know, that one little quarter of a turn to bring the G string higher changed its tuning. Beautiful. We don't need the tuner at this moment. Now comes the fun part, where we're back to here. Now, there's a lot of controversy and a lot of mystery about what's going on here. Remember, we loosened these to start, then we put the block in to bring the bridge back to level. Now what are we going to do? We're going to start driving these in. Now it's important that you keep the guitar in playing position. In other words, thusly. A little bit more in there. And then you start to drive in the claw screws one turn at a time until that block pops out easily. It should basically fall out. When that happens, you now have equilibrium between the springs and the trem and the string tension. And you have to find that sweet spot. So, if everything goes according to plan, one turn, and you do both claw screws equally until that trem block wants to pop out of there. This is always a moment of truth. And again, keep the claw even. There it is. It just popped out, just like that. Now, if everything goes according to plan, and this is where sometimes you will have, with the claw in the back, this guy, some fine tuning. But generally, and I say generally, we're going to tune back up the pitch and then get on the whammy. When we tune up the pitch, we should now have the bridge should lift up slightly off the deck, and it should be, I don't know, an eighth of an inch. You'll be able to see that it's pulled up, and what it's doing is it's working against the springs underneath. So let's see where the tuning is. It's very close. It's a little flat. And that's normal. I think the gear on the G tuning machine is more sensitive than everybody else. No, always the G. This is always the moment of truth. Put your trem bar back in there, your whammy bar, call it what you want. And be careful when you're putting these in there. That's pot metal under there. Go until it stops and then back it off a full turn. Make sure everything is still there. It is. Should all come back. It should come right back into pitch. and then we check. E. Dead on. A. Slightly flat. Well, these are new strings, so they, yep, there it is, dead on. New strings, of course, so they're going to go a little flat sometimes. There's your E. Comes right back. Dead on pitch. So that's how you do a trem setup on a Stratocaster shaped object in this particular instance. I'm Blackjack with 396 Guitars. Thanks for hanging in there. If you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe, man. We'll talk soon. Have a good one.